In 1966, John left the SNCC. He still believed in peaceful, nonviolent means to bring change, but he thought the group was taking a more aggressive direction. He worked for civil rights, even as he continued his studies at Fisk. Since his first arrest in 1960, John had been arrested more than 40 times at peaceful protests. In 1967, he graduated from Fisk with a degree in religion and philosophy. He took a job in New York City as associate director of the Field Foundation, which worked to end poverty and inequality. John left the foundation for a chance to work in Atlanta, which was closer to Alabama and where Martin lived and worked. He was hired to be the director of the Community Organization Project for the Southern Regional Council. John led Black and white people who worked to promote racial equality and prevent racial violence. In Atlanta, John met a woman named Lillian Miles. She was very smart and worked as a librarian. She helped John get through April 4th, 1968, one of the worst days of his life. It was the day his mentor and friend, Martin, was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. John left the council for a little while so he could work on New York Senator Robert F. Kennedy's campaign to become President of the United States. Robert was John F. Kennedy's brother. John Lewis was with Robert when, sadly, he was assassinated in Los Angeles on June 6, 1968. John and Lillian got married 6 months later, on December 21, 1968. The next year, John was invited to Sweden to speak at a meeting of people from all over the world who were against the war going on in Vietnam. John asked a question that no one could answer. Why was President Johnson sending American troops thousands of miles away to fight a war in Vietnam, while not sending troops to protect Black people fighting to uphold basic human rights in America? President Johnson did eventually order troops to protect people peacefully protesting racial injustice. Lillian was not overly interested in politics, but she was supportive of John's work as director of the Voter Education Project, VEP, a job he took in 1970. The VEP helped people register to vote and understand their voting and civil rights. Under John's leadership, the VEP registered millions of Black people to vote. John believed that the right to vote was the most powerful tool an American, no matter their race, could have. On March 3, 1975, John testified before a committee in Congress about the need to strengthen the Voting Rights Act. Those who hold illegitimate power will not give it up voluntarily, Lewis said. He asked Congress to pass a permanent act to guarantee the protection of Black voters all over the United States. John was awarded the Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Peace Prize in 1975 for his continued work for civil rights. Lillian and John adopted a boy they named John Miles in 1976. John and Lillian loved their young son very much. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter, a native of Georgia, asked John to lead Action, a national volunteer agency that oversaw groups such as the Peace Corps. He accepted the position, but John wondered if he could be of more help to people if he worked in parts of the government that created and passed laws. He ran for election to Atlanta's City Council in 1981, and he won. In 1986, John ran for election to the U.S. House of Representatives to represent Georgia's 5th District. John, whose own parents had been prevented from voting, won the election. He officially became a United States representative. John was so good at representing the people of Georgia, he was re-elected 16 more times. Being in Congress gave John more power as an activist. He could speak out for people whose voices were not being heard. He could help create laws that made America smarter and safer. After John was sworn into the U.S. House of Representatives in 1987, he was put on 2 committees, then a 3rd, and more. By 1995, John had worked his way up to serving on the Ways and Means Committee, which keeps track of how the United States government takes in and spends money. John entered Congress with a very clear plan. He wanted to get laws passed that advanced civil rights, environmental issues, education, and health care. John's work as a representative showed his pursuit of Martin's desire to create a beloved community, a nation committed to equality with a foundation of peace and justice for all.